A sleep story for the sleep outpost. Intro spoken slowly, warmly, with long pauses between sentences. Welcome. Welcome to this quiet space, this peaceful place that exists between waking and dreaming. Tonight, you have nowhere to be, no tasks waiting for your attention, no decisions pressing against you, no unfinished thoughts demanding resolution. There is only this moment, and this voice, and the slow, unhurried rhythm of your own breathing. Find your most comfortable position now. Let your body settle fully into whatever is holding you, your bed, your pillow, your blankets drawn softly around you. Feel the weight of your body releasing downward, growing heavier and more still with each breath you take. Your shoulders are relaxing. Your jaw is unclenching. Your hands, if they are gripping anything, can let go completely. Breathe in, slowly and deeply, and breathe out. Tonight, we are going to travel somewhere extraordinary. Somewhere ancient and beautiful and utterly peaceful. We are going to visit the most magnificent library the world has ever known, the Great Library of Alexandria, jewel of the ancient Mediterranean world, home of all human wisdom, where scholars from every corner of the earth once walked in reverent silence among scrolls so numerous they could not be counted. But we will not be rushing. We will not be hurrying toward any destination. There is no lesson to learn tonight, no knowledge to acquire. We will simply arrive, slowly and gently, and wander through those legendary halls with all the time in the world. We will breathe the air that those ancient scholars breathed. We will touch, with our minds, the things they touched with their hands. We will let the deep, settled peace of that place move through us like warm water. There is nothing to do tonight, nothing to understand, nothing to remember. Only to drift, gently and freely, through one of the most beautiful places that ever existed in human memory. You are on a ship. Not a grand ship, a modest trading vessel of ancient cedar wood, its single sail of cream-colored linen full and easy in the afternoon breeze. The ship moves slowly across the water, its movement barely perceptible, a gentle, continuous rocking, as steady and reliable as breathing. The sea around you is a deep, luminous blue, the kind of blue that seems to hold light inside it, like a sapphire held up to the afternoon sun, glowing from within. The day is warm and unhurried. A gentle breeze comes off the water, carrying with it the faint salt smell of the sea and something else, something green and ancient, like the smell of lands where civilization has lived for thousands of years. The oarsmen move in a slow, rhythmic stroke, pull through the water, and rest, pull, and rest. The sound of their oars dipping and rising is steady and measured and endlessly calming, like a heartbeat, like the ticking of a very old and reliable clock. You are sitting at the bow of the ship, facing forward, wrapped in a soft cloth of undyed wool. The afternoon sun is warm on your face and arms. The deck beneath you is smooth and warm too, worn soft by years of sea and weather, and you are perfectly comfortable where you sit, your back against the rail, your legs stretched out before you on the planking. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. The water ahead of you glitters with 1,000 small movements of light. And there, on the horizon, you see it. Alexandria. At first, it is only a shimmer of white against the pale coast of Egypt, something distant and vast and barely distinguished from the haze. Then, as the ship moves forward on its slow and deliberate course, the city begins to resolve itself out of the blue distance. Pale stone buildings catching the afternoon light. The green fringe of date palms along the waterfront, their fronds barely moving. And rising above everything, impossibly tall against the pale sky, the Pharos, the great lighthouse of Alexandria, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, visible from this distance as a column of white stone tapering toward the heavens. The lighthouse rises in tiers from the flat peninsula of Pharos Island, each tier smaller than the one below, until at the very top, a flame burns visible for miles in every direction, a beacon for every ship sailing the Mediterranean. Even from this great distance, you can see the warmth of that flame. It burns steadily. It has been burning steadily for more than 200 years. It will continue to burn through tonight and through every night that follows. The ship glides forward. The breeze is gentle and even. The rigging above you makes a soft, musical sound, ropes moving against the mast, the sail billowing slightly and then settling, billowing and settling. It is the kind of sound that seems designed to slow the human mind, to bring the pulse down into something quiet and deeply at ease. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. Around you, the other passengers are quiet too. A merchant from Athens sits near the mast with his eyes half closed, his head nodding gently with the motion of the boat. An old Egyptian woman wrapped in white linen holds a bundle of offerings on her lap and watches the approaching city with a look of serene familiarity, as if this is a journey she has made many times before and has always found beautiful, and finds no less beautiful now. A young student with ink-stained fingers has his head resting on a rolled cloak, asleep. The harbor of Alexandria opens before you. It is enormous, a great crescent of calm, sheltered water enclosed by long breakwaters of ancient stone, and within it, vessels from every civilization in the known world rest at anchor or at their moorings. Phoenician trading ships with their dark painted eyes on the bow. Greek vessels with their clean, spare lines. Small papyrus boats from the Nile Delta, impossibly lightweight looking. Fat merchant vessels from Carthage and the Levant and the distant ports of the Black Sea. But they are all resting now, all quiet. The harbor breathes in the late afternoon light like something sleeping. Your ship docks at a long stone quay with practiced ease. The sailors tie their ropes. A gangplank is lowered. You gather your small traveling bundle and walk, carefully and slowly, down onto the stone of Alexandria. The stones are warm under your feet. They have been warm since morning, absorbing the long Egyptian sun, and they give that warmth back to you through the soles of your sandals. You stand for a moment on the quay and simply breathe. The air here is different, still carrying the salt of the sea. But underneath it, the smell of spices from the nearby market stalls, of cooking fires, of the particular warm and dusty and ancient smell of a city that has been inhabited for 3 centuries and knows exactly what it is. You are in Alexandria, and ahead of you, somewhere behind the white buildings and the swaying palms, waits the library. You begin to walk, there is no hurry. The streets of Alexandria are wide and straight. This is a city that was planned, laid out in a great geometric grid by the architects of Alexander himself, and the plan has given the city a quality of order and clarity that you feel even now, walking through it toward evening. The main avenue, the Canopic Way, stretches before you from the harbor all the way to the eastern gate, lined on both sides with colonnades of pale marble columns. The columns cast long shadows in the evening light. Stripes of cool shade across the warm stone of the road. The city is settling into its evening. Merchants are drawing cloths over their displays of spices and fine glassware and carefully rolled papyrus. Children run between the columns, their laughter rising and falling like birdsong. A woman carries a clay amphora on her head with effortless, practiced grace, her steps slow, and even as she makes her way home through streets she has known since childhood. Somewhere nearby, someone is playing a reed flute, a simple 4-note melody repeated over and over, each repetition slightly different from the last, the way the sea repeats its waves. The same and never quite the same. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. You walk through the city at an evening pace. The columns pass on either side of you. The light shifts and deepens. The shadows grow longer and softer. The air cools slightly as the sun descends, and the cooling is pleasant, the city releasing the heat of the day back into the darkening sky. And then, at the end of a long boulevard, you see the library. It is not the largest building in the city, The royal palace complex to the north is grander in scale, more imposing. But the library has a quality that the palace does not have, a quality of settled, permanent, unhurried authority. It is built of limestone so white it seems almost to generate its own light in the evening. Its facade is lined with tall columns, and between the columns hang inscriptions in Greek and Egyptian and other languages you recognize without being able to read. Dedications and proclamations and fragments of verse carved into the stone, as if the building wishes to begin teaching you before you have even entered it. The steps leading up to the entrance are broad and shallow, the kind of steps designed to be climbed slowly, to make the approach feel deliberate and ceremonial. You climb them one at a time, your hand trailing lightly along the warm stone balustrade. Scholars sit on the lower steps in quiet conversation, their voices low and murmuring, like water moving over smooth stones. Some have scrolls open on their laps. Others are simply looking out at the city and the harbor visible in the distance, thinking thoughts you cannot hear and do not need to. At the top of the steps, two tall cedar wood doors stand open, releasing from the interior of the building a breath of cool, slightly scented air. It smells of papyrus, of cedar oil used to preserve the scrolls, of lamp oil and beeswax and the particular dry, layered, ancient smell of accumulated knowledge, the smell of 10,000 scrolls, of centuries of thought preserved in plant fiber and ink, resting in their cases, waiting. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. You stand at the threshold for a moment, you breathe it in. Then you step through the doors, and the great Library of Alexandria receives you. Inside the entrance, you stand in a great vestibule. The ceiling above you is high, so high that shadows gather in the upper reaches, and you can only just make out the painted beams decorated with blue and gold. The floor beneath your feet is polished limestone, cool and smooth. Your footsteps make the softest echo, and the echo fades quickly into the deep, absorbing quiet of the building. Before you stretch two long corridors, branching left and right, and ahead of you a central hall opens up, tall, columned, lit by lamps that burn at measured intervals along the walls, each one casting a warm pool of golden light that overlaps gently with the next, creating a continuous, even, deeply calming illumination. It is the light of evening, of domesticity and ease, the light of a warm room at the end of a long and pleasant day. You breathe in the library, and the library breathes around you. You choose to go forward and then turn right, following a corridor that carries a particular quality of stillness. A stillness that draws you in the way certain rooms draw you in, rooms where you instinctively lower your voice and move more slowly. This is the Egyptian wing. The walls here are different from the entrance, not bare limestone but covered in smooth plaster, and on that plaster, painted in extraordinary detail, are scenes from the long life of Egypt. You walk slowly along the corridor, letting your eyes move across the images without fixing on any one of them, taking them in the way you take in a landscape. As a whole, as a presence, as something to rest inside rather than to analyze. A procession of priests carrying sacred objects. Their white robes so carefully painted you can almost see the fabric move in a breeze that blew 3,000 years ago. The Nile in flood, spreading its dark, rich water across the fields, and from that dark water, crops rising green and abundant in every direction. The pyramids at Giza, seen from a distance, their perfect geometric forms rising against a sky of deep Egyptian blue, so certain in their mass, so patient, so permanent. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. But it is the scrolls that hold the true weight of this room. They are stored in tall wooden cabinets, each cabinet fitted with dozens of small cylindrical compartments, each compartment holding a scroll rolled tightly and sealed with a small clay tablet inscribed with its title and its contents. The cabinets line both walls from floor to ceiling. Ladders on wooden rails allow access to the upper shelves. Every scroll is labeled. Every scroll is numbered. Every scroll belongs to a system of organization so comprehensive that any piece of knowledge stored in this room can be found within minutes by any scholar who knows how to ask for it. You walk slowly past the cabinets. You read the labels on the small clay tablets, moving your eyes across them without urgency. The rituals of the opening of the mouth, recited at the moment of death to allow the soul to breathe and speak in the afterlife. Measurements and proportions for the construction of temples in the Nome of Memphis. A treatise on the annual floods of the Nile and their effect on crop cycles over 300 years of careful observation. Medical papyri describing treatments for ailments of every kind, organized by the region of the body, observed and tested over generations of physician priests who combined prayer and knowledge in ways that seemed, to them, entirely natural. Astronomical records. The rising of certain stars at certain times of year, carefully measured, correlated with the flooding of the Nile and the cycles of planting and harvest, so that the sky became a calendar, and the calendar became a guide for the lives of millions of people living along the Great River. These are not merely books. They are the accumulated intelligence of a civilization 3,000 years old. They represent every question an Egyptian farmer, or priest, or king ever asked and managed to find an answer to. Every mystery investigated. Every lesson learned and written down so that it would not be lost when the person who learned it died and took their knowledge with them. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. Near the center of the room, a reading table has been set up beneath a cluster of lamps, a broad, low table of polished cedar wood, with a freshly cut reed pen and an inkwell standing ready for anyone who might wish to take notes. A lamp burns at each corner of the table, and in this warm, four-pointed light, a partial scroll lies open across the table's surface. You sit at the table. You do not write. You simply look at the open scroll. The hieroglyphs are painted in black and red on papyrus the color of old honey, and even though you cannot read them, not quite, not exactly, you understand them somehow, the way you understand certain things in the deep part of a dream without needing to translate or decode. They tell of the journey of the sun through the underworld each night. The sun descending below the horizon at dusk, traveling through 12 chambers of darkness, until at last, at the end of the 12th hour, it rises again into the eastern sky, renewed, warm, unwavering. The lamp flames are very still. The room is very quiet. You breathe. You walk back out into the main corridor and continue deeper into the library. The architecture gradually shifts as you move. The Egyptian wing had something massive and earthbound about it, close to the ancient soil of the Nile Valley. The corridor you now follow has a different quality. The columns are more slender, the proportions lighter, the decoration more geometric, meander patterns and palmettes carved with elegant precision into the stone above the doorways. The room opens before you into a long hall with a high, barrel-vaulted ceiling. Light enters from narrow windows set high in the walls, and in the daytime these windows would fill the room with long shafts of Mediterranean sunlight. Now, in the late evening, the windows show deep blue rectangles of night sky, and the room is lit entirely by the warm, steady glow of dozens of oil lamps set into niches along both walls. The light is warm and even and very peaceful. The Greek collection. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. The scrolls here are different in character from the Egyptian ones, smaller in circumference, written on lighter papyrus, stored in leather cases with the titles written in elegant black Greek letters on the protruding end of each case. Philosophy, mathematics, medicine, drama, poetry, history, natural philosophy, geography. Each discipline has its own section, carefully delineated, and within each section, the works are organized alphabetically by the author's name. You move slowly through the hall, reading the labels. The names are like the names of old friends, known even if not fully understood, familiar even across the great distance of centuries. Anaximander, Anaxagoras, Aristophanes, Aristotle. The case for Aristotle alone takes up an entire wall, dozens upon dozens of scrolls, representing a lifetime of inquiry into virtually every question a human mind can ask. What is matter made of? How do animals reproduce? What makes a city just and good? What is the difference between a comedy and a tragedy, and why does each one do something to us? How do we know what we know? Every question asked carefully and patiently, examined from multiple angles, argued through with a thoroughness that is itself, somehow, restful, the restfulness of watching a craftsman who knows their craft completely, working without hurry, without anxiety, with perfect confidence in the process. You take down one of the smaller cases, a work on the movement of the heavenly bodies, written in a careful, unhurried hand on papyrus so fine it seems almost translucent. You unroll it slightly and hold it in the lamplight. The Greek letters are precise and even, clearly copied by a scribe who took great care with every stroke, who considered each letter as it was formed. In the margins, previous readers have left tiny notations in a different ink. A question mark beside a passage that confused them, a small mark of agreement beside something that struck them as true. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. The thought comes to you that you are not alone in this room, even though no one else is present with you right now. Every person who ever read these scrolls, every scholar who ever leaned close to a lamp to follow an argument, or underlined a passage with a reed pen, or sat back in their chair and looked at the ceiling thinking about what they had just read, they are here in some sense. Their attention has soaked into the papyrus. Their understanding has worn smooth certain passages the way river water, where smooth a stone it flows over for centuries. You roll the scroll closed again, with care, and return it to its leather case. In a wide alcove along the northern wall, a reading couch has been set up. A simple wooden couch with a padded cover of dark cloth, placed there for readers who wish to recline while they work through a long text. You lie down on it. The couch is firm and comfortable, and it receives you as if it were made for exactly your dimensions. Above you, the barrel vault curves away into shadow. Through the high windows, the night sky has deepened to a dense, dark blue, and you can see the steady glimmer of the first stars appearing. There is a scroll open beside you, but you are not reading it now. You are simply resting with it nearby, in this room full of thoughts and questions and patient answers, letting your breathing slow. In and out. Slow and even. The lamp flames are perfectly still. The room is perfectly quiet. Somewhere in the distance, very faint, carried through stone walls and long corridors, you can hear the sound of the sea. Further along the corridor, past a junction where 3 hallways meet at a central rotunda with a dome, painted the deep blue of midnight and scattered with carefully positioned silver stars, you find the Eastern collections. This part of the library is quieter still, the quietest section of all. Fewer scholars come here, and so the rooms have a deeper, more private stillness. The kind of stillness that exists in places seldom visited, where dust settles slowly in the long afternoons, and the air holds the memory of absence. But the scrolls are here, and the clay tablets, and the strange, beautiful written objects from civilizations whose names are barely known even to the scholars who cataloged them. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. The Persian collection is arranged in deep alcoves along a north-facing wall. The scrolls are wrapped in silk, a luxury that reflects the care and importance placed on these texts by the kings and scholars who sent them as gifts to Alexandria's growing library. The silk is faded now with age, patterned in deep reds and burnt oranges that were once vivid and brilliant, and where you unwrap one gently, with enormous care, with the slow, reverent movements of someone handling something ancient and precious. You find inside a scroll of a different kind from those in the Greek and Egyptian wings. This text was written in Persian, in an alphabet flowing and beautiful even if you cannot read it, the letters moving from right to left across the page in a script that seems to breathe, each letter connected to the next in long, elegant chains, the whole page alive with a kind of calligraphy that is itself a form of art, independent of whatever the words mean. The ink is very black, and at the beginning of each new section, the first letter has been illuminated in gold and a deep lapis lazuli blue. The colors are still vivid after all these years. They have been sealed in, waiting quietly in their silk wrapping for someone to open them and breathe over them again. You roll the scroll back carefully and wrap it in its silk again. You replace it gently in its compartment and rest your hands for a moment on the wooden shelf, feeling its smoothness, feeling the quiet of the room. In the next alcove, on a series of low stone shelves, sit clay tablets. Dozens of them, each one pressed with a dense pattern of wedge-shaped marks, cuneiform script, the written language of ancient Babylon and Assyria and Sumer. These tablets are heavy and solid, made to last not for years but for millennia. Some are cracked at the corners, but the writing on them remains perfectly clear enough to read, for those who know the language. A scholar from Babylon visited the library some years ago and spent 3 months here, cataloging these tablets carefully, writing Greek summaries of their contents on small papyrus labels attached to each one. You read some of the labels, records of the stars and planets, with Jupiter's position tracked through the sky over multiple generations of careful observers. A king list, the names of every ruler of Babylon back to the beginning of recorded time, each name followed by the length of their reign in years. A flood narrative. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. A flood narrative. The tablet that carries this summary sits slightly apart from the others, a little larger, a little darker in color as if it has been handled more often. You pick it up. It is heavier than you expect, heavy as history feels in your hands. The cuneiform marks on its surface were pressed into soft clay by a stylus thousands of years ago, pressed by a human hand, with human fingers, in a city that no longer exists above the surface of the earth, on a day whose date is now completely unknown. And yet here it is, solid, real, unchanged, the story still legible to those who can read it. You hold the tablet for a long moment, feeling its weight, its warmth, the subtle texture of the marks on its surface. Then you set it gently back on its shelf. From somewhere deeper in this eastern section comes a very faint sound, so faint it might be imagined. Perhaps the sound of a reed pen moving across papyrus in a room further along the corridor. Perhaps only the sound of the building settling slightly as the night continues to cool, old wood and stone contracting imperceptibly, the library adjusting its weight in the dark. You stand still and listen. What you feel, standing here among the records of Babylon and Persia and lands even further east, what you feel is not distance from these people and their civilization, but proximity. They were here. They asked questions. They looked carefully at the world around them, at the sky, at the river, at the growth of plants and the movement of animals and the behavior of human beings in cities, and they wrote down what they found so that it would outlast them. So that someone, someday, in some unimaginable future, might stand in a room with their words and feel this sense of company across the centuries. The feeling is very peaceful. The library is not only a building. Like all great institutions of the ancient world, it exists within a larger complex, a precinct of learning that includes, at its center, a garden. You find the garden through a low door at the far end of the eastern collection, a small wooden door, slightly arched at the top, its wood dark with age and smoothed at the edges by the hands of 10,000 scholars who have opened it before you. It opens with the softest of sounds onto a courtyard of extraordinary stillness and beauty. The courtyard is square, perhaps 30 paces on each side, enclosed on all four sides by the pillared colonnades of the library's surrounding wings. The night sky above it is a perfect, unobstructed square of deep blue-black, brilliant with stars, framed by the pale stone of the library's walls. And below that sky, the garden. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. There are trees here. Date palms, their tall, straight trunks rising from beds of dark earth, their crowns of feathered fronds just visible against the stars, barely swaying in the faintest possible night breeze. A fig tree in one corner, broad-leaved, its fruits hanging in shadow. Beneath the palms, low plantings of herbs in careful rows, rosemary and thyme, and something with small white flowers whose scent, in the cool of this night air, is clean and sweet and very faint, like the memory of a smell rather than the smell itself. At the center of the garden is a fountain. It is simple, a wide, shallow basin of polished stone, perhaps 4 feet across, and from its center, a single column of water rises perhaps a foot into the air and falls back into the basin with a sound that is one of the most perfectly calming sounds you have ever heard. Not a rushing or a splashing sound, not a loud or assertive sound. Simply a small, continuous, flowing sound, the sound of water returning to water, endlessly and without effort, the sound of something that has been doing what it does for so long that it has achieved a state of pure effortlessness. You walk toward the fountain. The stone path under your feet is smooth and slightly cool. The air in the garden is noticeably cooler than the corridors of the library, the presence of the plants, and the open sky above, and the water, all contributing to a temperature that feels exactly right. Not cold, not warm, perfectly balanced. You sit on the wide stone lip of the fountain basin. The stone is cool and slightly damp beneath you. The sound of the water is very close now, that small, continuous, softly musical falling, constant as breathing. You can feel the faintest mist on your skin from the fountain, a coolness so subtle it is more like a whispered suggestion than a sensation. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. Above you, the stars of the ancient Mediterranean sky are brilliant and so numerous that you lose count immediately, and the losing count does not trouble you at all. There is no other light competing with them here, no city glow from distant modernity, no electric illumination of any kind. Only the warm flicker of the library's lamps through the arched doorways around the courtyard, and above that, the stars. The Milky Way arches overhead in a true band of soft luminance, genuinely bright, genuinely present in a way that most people in the modern world have never seen it. Not a suggestion of light, but an actual thing, a river of it, moving overhead from horizon to horizon. You watch it for a long time, your eyes are soft, your breathing is soft, the fountain sounds. And then you notice Sirius, rising in the east, the brightest star in the night sky, the one the Egyptians tracked so carefully in their papyri in the library behind you. It blazes blue-white, steady and intensely clear, the way only the very brightest stars can be, not twinkling but burning with a consistent, unwavering fire. You watch Sirius for a while. Then your eyes drift, and your gaze becomes soft and unfocused, and you are no longer watching any particular star, but simply looking at the entire sky as a whole. The way you take in a piece of music not note by note, but as a complete, present, enveloping experience that holds you from the outside in. The fountain sounds. The breeze moves the palm fronds. You breathe. Back inside, deeper now into the heart of the library, past the main halls and the great collections, past the cataloging rooms where scribes work in the daytime copying and organizing and labeling, past the rooms used for lectures and for discussions between scholars. Past all of that, there is a section of the library that requires patience to find. Not because it is hidden, but because it is at the end of a series of increasingly narrow and quiet corridors, each one a little more tucked away than the last, drawing you gradually inward toward the still center of the building. The reading alcoves. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. These are small rooms, barely rooms at all, really. Each one is perhaps 6 feet by 8 feet, just large enough for a narrow couch and a small writing table and a lampstand. The walls are of smooth plaster, whitewashed simply, without any decoration. The ceiling is low. The door, when you pull it nearly closed behind you, fits into its frame with a seamless, precise quiet that shuts out even the faint ambient sounds of the library beyond. This is where scholars come when they need not just to read, but to think. When they need to let an idea move through them slowly and uninterrupted, the way water works its way through stone over long centuries, finding its path by persistence rather than force. The alcoves are built for exactly the kind of attention that is also a kind of rest. The deep, focused, unhurried attention that feels, when it is working, less like effort and more like being gently carried. You choose an alcove and step inside. The couch is narrow and low, covered with a cloth of undyed linen, rough and clean-smelling. On the wall beside the couch, a small lamp burns in a niche, a simple clay lamp, oil-fed, its flame tiny and perfectly still. There is no draft in this room. The flame does not waver. It simply burns, constant and warm, casting a circle of soft gold light that exactly fills the room without overflowing it, leaving the far corners in the gentlest of shadows. You lie down on the couch. The linen cloth is cool under your hands and then gradually warm as your body heats it. The ceiling above you is low and close. You could almost reach up and touch it without stretching. But this is not oppressive. It is intimate in the way that good small spaces are intimate. The way a burrow is intimate. The way a nest is intimate. The way a perfectly made bed is intimate. Everything at the right distance, the right temperature, the right size for a human body to rest in completely. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. You have been walking for a long time, through the harbor and the streets of Alexandria, through the great entrance hall and the Egyptian wing with its painted walls and its honey-colored papyri, through the Greek collection with its organized ranks of leather scroll cases, through the Eastern rooms with their clay tablets and silk-wrapped Persian scrolls, through the garden with its fountain and its brilliant stars. You have been looking and breathing and absorbing this place for what feels like hours, or perhaps like something longer than hours, since time in this place moves at a different pace, slower and more generous than time outside. And now your body is asking for rest, not urgently, quietly, the way your body asks for things when you have given it what it needs and it is ready now for the next thing it needs. Your limbs are heavy. There is a particular quality to the heaviness, not the heaviness of exhaustion, not an unpleasant weight, but the satisfied heaviness of a body that has been used well through a long and good day and is now ready to be still. Your eyes feel heavy too, not in an urgent way. Just heavy, softly and pleasantly, the way eyes feel when they have spent an evening looking at beautiful things and are ready now to close. The lamp flame is very still. Somewhere in the library, further away than you can quite locate, somewhere deep in the building behind several walls, a scholar is transcribing. You can hear the soft, rhythmic scratch of a reed pen on papyrus. Scratch, pause, scratch, pause, the sound of a mind working quietly, content with its work, asking nothing of you at all. Your breathing has slowed. In and out. In and out. There is, at the northeastern corner of the library complex, a tower. It rises 3 stories above the main roofline of the building, and at its apex there is a flat, circular platform, open to the sky on all sides, fitted with instruments of polished bronze for measuring the positions and movements of celestial bodies. This is the observatory, the place where the library's astronomers come each clear night to continue the work of sky-watching that the Egyptian priests began 4,000 years before them. You climb to it now. The stairs are stone, worn smooth in the center of each step by generations of feet ascending in the dark, and you climb with one hand trailing along the wall, feeling the cool stone, the slight roughness of it, the way it holds the night's chill. The staircase winds upward in a gentle spiral, and with each step, the air grows slightly cooler and slightly more open, carrying more of the night in it, more of the sky. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. At the top of the stairs, a low door opens and you step out onto the platform. The view opens around you, like a held breath releasing. From up here, the entire world seems to expand. The library complex spreads below, its roof lines silver gray in the light of the high moon. Beyond it, the streets of Alexandria, quiet now in the deep of night, with only the occasional lamp burning in a window, the occasional sound of voices too distant to make out. And beyond the city, the harbor, and in it, the Pharos lighthouse still burning its patient, centuries-old fire on its island. And beyond the harbor, the sea. The sea at night is something the mind returns to for comfort, without quite knowing why. It does not sleep the way the land sleeps. It moves continuously, even now, even in this calm, small waves catching and releasing the moonlight, a constant, gentle, silver animation stretching out to the edge of the visible world. You stand on the platform and breathe. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. On the platform, 3 bronze instruments stand at measured intervals, each one mounted on a heavy stone base. The most prominent is an armillary sphere, a nested set of metal rings representing the great circles of the sky. The sphere sits at the center of its mounting, perfectly balanced, its rings catching the moonlight and dividing it into arcs of cold illumination. You walk to the armillary sphere and place your hand gently on one of its rings. The bronze is cool under your palm, carrying the full cold of the night air in its metal. The rings are engraved along their edges with small scales of degrees, each mark pressed with extraordinary precision by a craftsman who understood exactly what he was making and why. What the instrument says, simply by existing, is this: the sky is not chaos. It is order. Measurable, mappable, learnable order. The same sky that seems so vast and overwhelming and unknowable to a person standing in an open field becomes, through this instrument, a garden, something tended and known and navigable. That thought is calming in a deep way. The stars move in their slow arc across the sky, as they have always moved, as they always will move. The lighthouse burns, the sea breathes, the city sleeps. And up here, on this tower, you are very small and very still and very far from any urgency, any demand, any requirement that you be or do or produce anything at all. Your eyes grow heavy again. You let them half close. The stars blur slightly, softening from sharp points to gentle smears of light, like stars seen through perfectly still water. The Milky Way becomes a soft breath of luminance. The moon becomes a warm presence rather than a sharp object. You are very comfortable here. The stone parapet behind you supports your weight. The night air is cool and clean. There is nothing required of you. Nothing at all. You descend the tower stairs slowly, your hand trailing along the warm stone wall, one step at a time. Each step down is a step into greater warmth, greater quiet, greater enclosure. The night air wraps around you as you emerge from the base of the tower and walk, very slowly now, back through the corridors of the library toward its center. The lamps burn low in this late hour. Many of them have been trimmed and reduced for the night, and the light they give now is only a suggestion of light, a golden warmth at regular intervals, with long stretches of quiet, velvety dimness between. You walk through alternating warmth and shadow, your feet finding the smooth stone floor without difficulty, guided by the memory of the path, by some instinct for the building's geometry, by the slight warmth that emanates from its inner rooms. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. There is a room at the center of the library that serves a purpose found in all great institutions of the ancient world. A room for rest. Not private sleep, but the shared rest of scholars, the pause between periods of work, the brief surrender to the body's needs that allows the mind to continue its work renewed. Great centers of learning have always understood this. The body and the mind are one thing. When the body rests, the mind finds its deepest movements. When we release our waking grip on thought, thought often finds its most interesting configurations in the dark behind our eyes. The room is generous in size but low-ceilinged, which gives it a sheltered, enclosed feeling, like a space designed to hold warmth and quiet against the larger coolness of the world outside. Along 3 walls, shallow niches are cut into the stone, each niche lined with a thin mattress stuffed with dried reeds and covered with clean linen, and each mattress fitted with a blanket of undyed wool. The niches are just large enough for a person to lie full length, with their head against the interior wall and their feet at the opening. They are, in fact, perfect. The proportions are exactly right. The covering exactly warm enough. The stone of the niche creating, when you lie in one, a sense of being held, contained in the best possible sense, the way a shell holds what is inside it, the way a nest holds its occupant. You choose a niche near the center of the wall. You lie down. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. The wool blanket is soft. You draw it up over your arms and your chest. It has the particular softness of wool that has been washed many times, not smooth exactly, but yielding, forgiving, without roughness. The mattress under you is firm, but gives slightly under your weight, conforming to you rather than demanding that you conform to it. The ceiling of the niche is very close. Just above you, a surface of smooth stone that your eyes trace without focus, without intent, without finding anything there that requires a response. The room is nearly dark. The single lamp that remains lit through the night is at the far end, and its light barely reaches your niche, falling instead in a soft pool near the door, leaving you in a warmth of dimness that is perfect for rest. Not complete darkness, there is still that faint, warm, amber glow at the edge of your vision if you look toward it. But dim, quiet, still. You can hear the breathing of the library around you. Not a metaphor, old stone buildings breathe with the night, the slight movement of air through long corridors as outer surfaces cool and inner warmth seeks its equilibrium. The library breathes, just perceptibly, just enough to remind you that you are inside something large and old and alive in its own way. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. Other scholars are resting in other niches nearby. You sense them rather than see them, the slight sounds of adjustment, of a body settling more deeply into its place, of the particular quality of communal stillness that exists in rooms where several people are simultaneously releasing their hold on the day. There is something very companionable about this shared surrender to rest. Something ancient and right about it. Your thoughts, which have been moving slowly all evening, through the harbor, through the streets, through the Egyptian wing and the Greek halls and the eastern alcoves and the garden and the observatory, your thoughts now begin to slow further. They do not stop exactly. They simply lose their forward momentum. They drift, untethered, the way things drift in very still water, moving slightly, describing gentle circles, without direction, without urgency. A line from one of the scrolls surfaces and floats slowly past your inner attention. The stars know patience. Let them teach it to you. Then it is gone. Then there is only the warmth of the blanket, the firmness of the mattress, the faint sound of the library breathing, and your own breath, which has become so slow and so quiet that you can barely hear it yourself. Breathe in. And out. In. And out. Let your shoulders drop. Breathe slowly. Nothing to do but listen. You are drifting now. Not quite asleep. Not quite awake. You are in the borderland between the two, that soft, luminous, textureless space that exists only for the moments before full sleep arrives. The ancient Egyptians had a word for this place. They understood it as sacred, the threshold of the dream world, where the sleeping soul is held gently before the full darkness of deep rest receives it. The library is still around you. You know this even without opening your eyes. You can feel the weight of its walls, the solidity of its stone floor beneath the mattress, the warmth of the distant lamp. You can feel, dimly and pleasantly, the presence of all those scrolls, all that accumulated knowing, contained in its papyrus cases and clay niches and silk-wrapped compartments. Thousands upon thousands of questions asked and answered. Thousands of lifetimes of looking carefully at the world and writing down what was found, so that it would not be lost. All of it breathing quietly around you. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. In this borderland between sleep and waking, things lose their hard edges and become something softer and more continuous. The Egyptian hall and the Greek hall and the Eastern collections are no longer separate rooms, but one single, gentle space. The scrolls become, simply, the presence of thought, the warm, generous hum of minds that have touched these things across the centuries and left something of themselves behind, the way hands leave warmth on stone. You are part of this now. Every breath you have taken in this building, every surface your eyes have moved across, every word you have half absorbed and let go, all of it has made you, for this night, part of the library's long life. You are one of its many thousands of visitors across the centuries. Your attention, laid gently over these ancient things, is itself a kind of care. A kind of love, even, the love of attention. The love of being present with something old and beautiful and patient. The lamp at the far end of the room has burned to its lowest. It makes almost no light now, only a faint orange warmth, the color of coals, barely present, barely there. The room is darker than it was when you lay down. The darkness is soft and graduated, like the darkness behind your own closed eyelids, not empty but inhabited, not blank but full of the soft afterimages of everything you have seen. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. Your body is very heavy now. Your limbs have settled completely into the mattress. There is no part of you that wants to move. Your hands are still. Your face is still. Your jaw is soft and slightly open. Your eyes, behind their closed lids, are still and soft and very far from the surface of things. Breathe in. Slowly. And out. The library dreams around you. In the Egyptian wing, the painted scenes on the plaster walls glow faintly with their own inner permanence. The procession of priests, the flooding Nile, the pyramids against their deep blue sky. They are still there, patient and unchanged, waiting for morning to bring light across them again, as morning has brought light across them for 300 years. In the Greek wing, the scrolls rest in their leather cases. The thoughts of Aristotle, of Euclid, of Archimedes, of Heraclitus and Pythagoras and Sappho, all of them asleep in their papyrus, available always to anyone who comes with a quiet mind and a willingness to sit still and read slowly. The couch you rested on earlier still holds the warmth of your body. In the Eastern collection, the clay tablets of Babylon lie on their shelves as they have lain for centuries. The cuneiform marks on their surfaces carry their star tables and their flood narrative and their lists of ancient kings, steady and patient and making no demands. They have been patient for 2,000 years and will be patient for 2,000 more. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, nothing to do but listen. In the garden, the fountain continues its small, endless falling. The water rises from the stone column and falls back into the basin and has been doing so through this entire night, as it did through all the nights before it. The palms sway imperceptibly in the night breeze. The stars overhead have moved in their great slow arc, and Sirius is now lower in the west, its fire steady as ever, indifferent to the hours, indifferent to anything but the work of shining. And in the observatory tower, the armillary sphere stands in the cold night air, its bronze rings silvered by the moon. The stars it was built to measure are continuing their immense, slow rotation around the pole, a rotation so gradual you cannot see it happening, but can feel it somehow, lying here in the dark. The sense of the sky moving overhead, slowly and without urgency, the way the seasons move, the way rivers move, the way all large and true things move from within themselves in their own time without being pushed. Let your shoulders drop. Breathe slowly. Nothing to do but listen. Time passes. Slowly. Gently. Without urgency and without resistance. You are very nearly asleep. The difference between being nearly asleep and being asleep is a difference so small, so fine, so gradual that it cannot be located, only noticed after the fact, when you wake and realize you were somewhere else entirely. A transition so soft it leaves no seam. Your breathing is very slow now. In. Pause. Out. Pause. The lamp is only a warmth somewhere in the room. The darkness is kind and familiar. The library breathes around you, and in the library, the scrolls breathe, and in the scrolls, all the questions and all the answers breathe together, the Egyptian and the Greek and the Babylonian and the Persian, all of it resolving slowly into one continuous, warm, patient hum of human attention and care and wondering. The hum of civilization asking its questions. The hum of knowledge at rest. Let your shoulders drop. Breathe slowly. Nothing to do. Nothing to remember. Nothing to plan. Nothing to figure out. Only this warmth. Only this darkness. Only the distant sound of the sea, that endless sound that has been at the edge of this city since the city was built. As long as the library has breathed, as long as anyone has brought their questions here and found them, gently answered. The sea breathes. You breathe. In. And out. In. And. Out. You are in Alexandria. You are in the great library. You are safe and warm, and the wisdom of thousands of years surrounds you like the walls of a good room, and the night is deep and soft and will not hurry, and there is nothing required of you now except to let go. Let go of the day. Let go of the plans. Let go of the questions, even the good ones, they will be here tomorrow, patient as clay tablets, waiting without urgency on their shelves. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let them close. Let your thoughts drift like papyrus on a still river, not moving toward anything, not moving away from anything, simply drifting slowly, turning slightly in the warm current, in the dark and gentle water. Let the library hold you. Let the night hold you. Let the ancient city, with all its accumulated calm, with all its 1,000 years of people going to sleep beneath these same stars, let it hold you too. Let sleep. Come. Drift now into the deep. You are safe. The library is dreaming beside you. The scrolls are patient. The fountain still sounds. The lighthouse burns. The stars turn. And you are resting. Rest now. Good night. End of script. The Sleep Outpost, the Ancient Library of Alexandria. A Journey Through Time. Category, Ancient Runtime Target, 4550 min TTS Voice, AF Heart Speed, 0.82.